Hello my friends, today we're gonna make a huge and emotional progressive house drop similar to Martin Garrix's in FL Studio. Let's start off by making some emotional chords. Then let's chop up the chords and make that famous Martin Garrix rhythm. Now that we have a nice rhythm, we can make a melody on top. I think that sounds decent, guys. Now that we're done with the composition, let's start on building the drop. We're gonna begin by making a very crisp and big lead. Let's start with a nice vital preset playing the lead melody. Now we're gonna add some more layers to make the lead bigger. We're also gonna add a very short reverb with a decay time of only about 14 milliseconds. This makes the lead a bit more full. Now my friends, we're gonna add some mixing effects to make the lead more powerful. We want to make the lead as energetic and fat as humanly possible while still sounding crisp. The lead will be the focus of the drop, so we need to push it really hard. We'll start off by adding an EQ to shape the sound a bit before we add more effects. Then we'll add compression using OTT. Then an EQ removing some of the ugly frequencies created by the OTT. Some distortion and compression with Camel Crusher. Another EQ. A soundizer for some more power. Then distortion using Fruity Fast Dist. Another EQ. And then a final EQ. And lastly a Fruity Stereo shaper to make the lead a bit wider. This, my friends, is what the lead sounds like without the mixing effects. And this is with. Now to make the lead even bigger, we're gonna add a normal length reverb on top. And we're also gonna add this reverse lead shot a couple times in the melody. Now my friends, let's make a fat bass line that gives energy to the lead. We're gonna use a very heavy sidechain for the bass and chords, and basically all the elements in this drop, except the lead. For the lead we're gonna use the same sidechain shape, but I dragged the mix of the sidechain down to 68% on just the lead, to make the lead a bit more present in the mix. Now onto the bass line, guys. I started with this mid-bass serum preset playing this bass line. Now let's add some more mid-bass layers to make the bass more powerful. The last layer we're gonna add will be a sub-bass layer. When it comes to mixing the bass, we want to push it really hard, but also take down a lot of the high frequencies so it won't clash with the lead. Let's start off by mixing the mid-bass layers. We'll begin with an EQ removing some of these lead frequencies. Then we'll push it really hard with an OTT, and add some distortion with Fruity Fast Dist. Then another EQ removing some unwanted frequencies created by the OTT and distortion. Some more distortion and compression using Camel Crusher, a soundizer to make the bass fatter. And lastly a couple EQs to add some finishing touches. This is what the mid-bass sounds like without the mixing effects. And this is with. Now guys, let's quickly mix the sub-bass. We're gonna take it from this without the mixing effects to this with the mixing effects. To achieve that, we're gonna add distortion with Fruity Fast Dist, compression using OTT, a soundizer, and an EQ removing the highs and high mids. Guys, we're gonna add this white noise layer on top of the bass to add more energy to the drop. I know the white noise sounds a bit intense now, but it sounds a lot nicer when played together with the rest of the drop, and it adds a lot of power to the drop. Now my friends, let's make some nice chords to really fill out the drop, but first, I would truly appreciate it if you subscribed and turned on post notifications. Alright guys, the chords in this drop are very important, and will be responsible for a lot of the power and energy in the drop. We'll start with a saw layer in serum playing the chords for the drop. Then we're gonna add a second chord layer to make the chords a bit fatter. Now let's mix the chords. We're gonna absolutely destroy the chords with distortion and some other mixing effects. We don't want them to sound good on their own, but instead add as much power as possible to the drop. We're gonna start with an EQ, then a lot of compression with OTT, then 2 more EQs, distortion and compression using Camel Crusher EQ, then quite a bit of Soundidizer, and 2 final EQs. Lastly, I added a fruity stereo shaper, making the chords wide in the mix. This is what the chords sounded like before the mixing. And this is after we destroyed them with the mixing effects. Overly distorting the chords like we did here will actually make the drop quite a bit fatter. This is what the chords and bass sound like together. We're actually gonna add an organ and a piano layer on top of the chords. I added this FL Keys piano and this FL Keys organ sound, playing the chords. The piano is there to add more power, and the organ is there to create that dark emotional vibe. I added these mixing effects on the piano and organ to make them hit really hard. This is what they sound like without the mixing. And this is with. And this is what all the chords and the bass sound like together, guys. Now my friends, let's quickly make a nice drum pattern. First we'll add a kick, then some rides to add some energy to the drop, and some claps. After that I added the snare to add some rhythm, and some percussion. And then I added some more effects to fill out the drop a bit more. Finally, I was done with the drop, guys. Before I show you the full drop, I would truly appreciate it if you checked out my new sample pack. Link is in the description. If you get the pack, you'll get 6 FLPs, 280 samples, and 150 serum presets, all made for future house, bass house, slap house, and deep house. Here's a sneak peek of 2 of the FLPs from the pack. If you liked the video, please be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching. Love you guys.